Morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Okay, so today we have a guest with us. So we're just going to give a quick intro to catch up on where we're on what we're discussing. So as we mentioned before, on Shabbos, there is a law that one may not go outside of the city limits more than 2,000 cubits. That's called Tchum Shabbos, the boundary of Shabbos. Exactly how we measure that, that's been a discussion of many Mishnayos, but there's a prohibition of going outside of the 2,000 cubits. Beyond that, if you want to go beyond that, you have to make what's called an Erev Techumen, which means that you put food down right at the point of the 2,000 cubits outside the city. And when you do that, you now acquire that as your residence for Shabbos. And in that direction, you now have 2,000 cubits in all directions from there. Now, at the same time, as you mentioned before, if your Tchum Shabbos takes effect, so you've got 2,000 cubits in all four directions from the Tchum Shabbos, but you lose it from your house. You know, if you don't make a Tchum Shabbos, you get 2,000 cubits from your city, from your house, wherever you may be. But once you go ahead and you, so to speak, change your residence to where the Tchum is, now you only have 2,000 cubits in all directions from there, but not from your house. You're able to go from your house to the Tchum Shabbos, which is what you're trying to do, because you're trying to go further than you would able to from your house. But then the other directions from your house or from your city, you're not going to be able to have. Okay, that's to review what we had until now. So now the Mishnah says the following. Mishnah, we're in Mishnayos Erevin, Parakeh, chapter 5, Mishnah Zion, Mishnah 7. Okay, and the rule that we're going to need to know for this Mishnah is that if you want your Erev Techumen to work for you, you have to be within that Erev Techumen. You have to be within 2,000 cubits of that Erev Techumen when Shabbos begins. Meaning, if it's going to work for you, it's got to be that when Shabbos begins, you could get there. But if you put your Erev Techumen down in an area that when Shabbos begins is more than 2,000 cubits away from there, then the Erev Techumen doesn't work. So now the Mishnah says like this: Mi Yishaya b'Mizrach, somebody who was east of his city. He was outside in a field to the east of the city. V'amar leBnai, he told his son, Arev li b'marav, go and make for me an Erev Techumen west of the city. Or b'marav, he was west of the city. V'amar leBnai, and he told his son, Arev li b'Mizrach, make for me an Erev to the east of the city. So the Mishnah says, Im yesh hemenu ulebeis alpayim amos, if from where he is when Shabbos begins to his house is less than 2,000 cubits, ule eruva yeser mikan, but to his erev he's further than 2,000 cubits away, mutar lebeisai, he is permitted to go to his house, v'atzil eruva, but it's permitted to go to his erev, because being that when Shabbos began he couldn't get to his Erev because it was more than 2,000 cubits away from him. So then that means that the Erev does not work for him, but he can still go home because that's less than 2,000 cubits from his house. And then he gets 2,000 cubits in all directions from his house. Meaning typically when you're home, you don't make an Erev Techumen, you get 2,000, or in your city, your home, whatever, it can work with your whole city. If you're living outside of a city, it works from your home. So let's use city for an example. So if you're in your city and you didn't make an Erev Techumen, then you get 2,000 cubits in all directions from the city. In this situation, you told your son to put down an Erev somewhere else. You wanted to make the Erev, you wanted your residence for Shabbos halachically to be where that Erev was, but it didn't work because you were too far away from it when Shabbos began. So although you wanted to make the Erev, which means you wanted your residence for Shabbos to be where the Erev was, and it didn't work, nonetheless, we still say you don't lose your residence in your house, because the assumption is that when you make the Erev, that if the Erev works, okay, that's my place of residence. That's where my 2,000 cubits starts or goes around. But if it doesn't work, the assumption is I just want to be home, as if there was no Erev. So therefore, the Mishnah says that you can go to your house, but you can't go to your Erev. Let's say le'eruvay alpayim ama. Let's say the situation is that your Erev is within 2,000 cubits. And get to your house would take you more than 2,000 cubits. Then the halacha is, you're forbidden to go to your house because that's beyond the 2,000 cubits. But you can go to your Erev because since you were 2,000 cubits within the Erev when Shabbos began, therefore, that became your place of residence for Shabbos. And you got 2,000 cubits from there, but being that you're 2,000 cubits, more than 2,000 cubits away from your house, you can't go there. Now, it's interesting to note that the Mishnah laid out this case as that basically you can't get home, but you can get to your Erev. And then we say, okay, you're more than 2,000 cubits from your house, less than 2,000 cubits from your Erev, and you made the Erev. Okay, so you can't go to your house. It's too far, but you can go to your Erev. What if they're both equidistant? Let's say where you are is both 2,000 cubits from your house and 2,000 cubits from your Erev. Then where do you get your 2,000 cubits? From your Erev, because that's what you did, right? You wanted to make an Erev. The Erev worked. So although when Shabbos begins, you could go to your house, and you'll still be able to go to your house because it's within 2,000 cubits, but to be able to now go all three other directions from your house that you won't be able to do anymore because you made your Erev and the Erev worked. So the Mishnah only spoke about, you can get to your Erev, you can't get to your house, kind of, to be in sync with the first half of the Mishnah that spoke about where you could get to your house, but you couldn't get to the Erev. There, that's the literal situation. In the second case of the Mishnah, it's not only where you couldn't get to your house that the Erev works. The Erev works, and you could get to your house because that's exactly why you made the Erev. Okay, the Mishnah continues. Hanaisen es eruvai beibura shel ir. You went ahead and you put your Erev by the extension of the city. If you recall, we had a Mishnah that spoke about that, the houses of the city, let's say a situation, you have a city, the houses make the border of the city. Okay. Then you have, let's say, open field, but within 70 and 2/3 cubits, you have this house that's parked at some point. So we say that you could extend the border of the city out to there. That's this leniency that the sages made when it comes to the boundary for Tchumen. If there is going to be within 70 and 2/3 cubits of the end of the city, a house, or we even spoke about a ruined house, you can extend the border out to there, right? You draw a line to there, and you basically square it off at that point. Now, but the problem is, what this guy did? He didn't make the Erev beyond that. He made it there. He put his Erev in that house, meaning in what is the extension of the Erev? That's where he put his Erev. Did he need to do that? Certainly didn't, right? It's within the Erev. He didn't need to do that. And if you think about it, if by putting the Erev there, the Erev would work, he could possibly lose, he could actually lose distance in the other direction. Because if your Erev works here, you can only go 2,000 cubits here. But the point the Mishnah says is, if you put your Erev Tchumen at the extension of the city, garnished, nothing. He did nothing. It means absolutely nothing. It's like he didn't do anything.
He didn't lose anything.
No, right. He didn't lose anything either. The point is, though, if you put your Erev inside the Tchum, it doesn't work. Now, Nesanei chutz l'tchum. Let's say you put the Erev outside of the Tchum, which is what you're supposed to do. Afilu ama achas, you just went one ama. Ma sheniskaru mafsid. What you gain in one direction, you lose in the other one. Now, I know these pictures are way too small, but this diagram, okay? Now, this diagram, what you have is, you've got the city here, right? This is the city, okay? And he went ahead and he put his Erev Tchumen over here, to the east of the city, okay? So now, being that he put it outside of the city limits, that's where you're supposed to put an Erev. So now, in this direction from the city, you actually gain an extra 1,000 cubits. Because if you place the Erev, let's say you place the Erev 1,000 cubits from the city, okay, it's at a point of 1,000 cubits from the city, okay, outside of the city. So now, even without the Erev, you would have been able to have gotten 2,000 cubits from the city. But now that you put the Erev at 1,000 to the east, you've actually gained another 1,000 to the east, which means now with the Erev, how many amas can you walk from your city to the east? 3,000. Okay.
Not 5,000?
No, because it's 2,000 each direction. So you're getting 3,000 in this direction.
Yeah.
Now, to the west, the other direction, you used to have how much? 2,000.
2,000.
But now that you put your Erev over here to the east, that became your place of residence. The same way you gained 1,000 in this direction, you lost 1,000 in the other direction.
Let's say you're.
Let me just finish, okay? You lose 1,000 in the other direction. Now, but you think about it. So how much that means if you lost 1,000 in the other direction, how much do you get? How much do you still have in the direction to the west? The Mishnah would implying when it says what I gained, I lose, right? Means I only lost 1,000. Well, what about the actual area of the city? Let's say it's 400 amas. What about that? What happened to that amount? It sounds like you didn't lose that amount. You didn't lose it. Yeah, and that's the halacha. In this situation, you don't lose it because I'm going to point out something about Tanura. But in this situation, where you made your erev, and the 2,000 cubits actually went past the city, then the city, which very often, when you're in a city, right? Let's say your city is 10,000 cubits in all directions. Makes no difference. In the city itself, it's like your dollar amas, like your 4 amas. That makes no difference. In this situation, we're saying that the entire area of the city doesn't count in what what you have in that other direction. Doesn't count. It's like you. So what really comes out is that you're going to get 1,000 westward, get an extra 400 in this case, the way they have it, and then another 1,000 outside of the city. Because what the city area itself doesn't count. You don't lose that. Doesn't even go into the cheshbon. Doesn't even go into the counting of 1,000. And that's why the Mishnah says what I gained in one direction because of the Erev, meaning what I gained eastward, 1,000 there, right? I lose in the west. Now it should have been, I didn't just lose 1,000, I should have lost 1,400 because of the city, or whatever. Should have ended earlier. And you see from the Mishnah, says the Baratanura, that you don't lose that area 400. So again, in this picture, right? Sure, you get props, right? In this picture, the way it's working is you put down your Erev to the east, you gained 1,000 because this is your place of residence. Now going back here, right? This was within your 2,000 cubits from here. It's only 1,000 away, okay? And now we're saying beyond the city, you also get 1,000, but you lose 1,000. But this area 400, not even counting, because of the fact that we say that the city just gets kind of swallowed up. You forget about that area. Mm-hmm. Now the Ratanura qualifies that. The Ratanura says like this. Ratanura says, "V'hani mili k'she'ein kalesa alpayim shmena eir letzado ir ela b'seifa ir achutzala." If you're going to be able to, if you want to absorb the area of the city, it's got to be that again westward from your erev. In this case, the westward direction, meaning direction towards the city from your erev. That 2,000 cubits has to end at the end of the city or outside of it. So therefore, it comes out that that your 2,000 cubits from your erev, absorb the entire city. But if let's say you place the erev tchumen eastward in a way that the 2,000 cubits from there ends in the middle of the city, then you can't go beyond that point of the city.
Even though there's an erev?
Erev tchumen.
Okay.
Erev tchumen. We're not talking about that. And that's the point here. The point here is that Erev Tchumen is a question. Tchum Shabbos is not about carrying. Tchum Shabbos is about walking. And the Erev Tchumen we're discussing allows you to walk further than you would have been able to. The Erev that we put around, that's to do with carrying. And that's not the discussion here. So here the point is that, again, you're going to get that area of the city if the Tchum in that direction from your Erev includes the entire city. Then we say, okay, the area of the city doesn't count, and you continue counting from the city. But if the Erev ends in the city itself, if the 2,000 cubits rather ends in the city itself, in that direction from your Erev, then you can't go any further than that. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you,
Thank
Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.